call the meeting to order, a couple minutes late, but waiting for an elevator to work. So first on our agenda for this morning, I see Mr. Davis coming up. We're going to have a discussion about community-informed training.
Good afternoon. Are the Okay, as indicated, we'll be providing a conversation or continued discussion regarding the community-informed training program and strategies to improve police and community relations. As you may recall, at the last Public Safety Committee meeting last month, the Office of Oversight and Public Accountability provided an update regarding our community-informed training program. During that conversation, some members of the board indicated they wanted additional time to have discussion regarding the community-informed training program and also regarding public safety improvements that have happened over the last several years. So the purpose of this item is to create space for that to happen. In order to do that, we'll recap the community-informed training program, recap some of those public safety improvements. We'll also talk about some of our civilian violence prevention and intervention efforts, and then have time for additional discussion. So, by way of recap, our community-informed training program is a public safety training program where we partner with community to design trainings for our public safety departments. Those can happen in different ways. Our real 3 steps are listen, develop, and train. But what that really means is that community members can come to us and say, hey, we believe that our public safety departments need to be trained on this particular topic. They can either come in with a fully vetted idea, they could come in with a full training, or they can just say, here's the thought I have. Either way, our team partners with them to help develop and work out what that training looks like. We then partner with the police and or fire department to get that implemented, and we've been very successful in doing that up to this point. The chief also provided updates regarding public safety improvements that have happened over last several years. This timeline goes back to 2015. You see very early interventions in 2015, which included the creation of the Safe Task Force and those safe recommendations, body-worn cameras that came in 2016, which was really before many agencies, not only across the state, but across the country. And we moved forward in 2018 when City Manager Washington started, and we saw the creation of the city's strategic plan and several other plans that come into play at that point, including the creation of the Office of Oversight and Public Accountability in 2019. Of course, we entered that COVID space in 2020, but continued to make improvements in public safety during that time as well. Our Cure Violence program began in partnership with the Urban League in 2021. We updated the surveillance policy in 2022, and that same year, Chief Winstrom came on as police chief. Of course, we had the officer-involved shooting in April of that year, which was a major part of as we continued to move forward, and public safety improvements. We made improvements in that space. One of the other things that happened that year that was important is that OPA was included in the GRPOA and IAFF bargaining contracts. That's both the police and fire bargaining contracts. And OPA is the first of its kind office in the state of Michigan. So again, the city of Grand Rapids has been above the trend as we move forward in those spaces. In 2023, there was additional training that came forward. The police chief also gave an update regarding his first year in office with an update to the strategic plan as well. In 2023, around December, our tasers were equipped with automatic shutoff tether, which increased the distance in which tasers could be used from a safer distance. That brings us to 2025, and we'll talk about the fact that they hired a civilian victim services manager to expand their team and the transition to less lethal crowd control devices. So in addition to those public safety updates that have been given, I'm excited to make an announcement today. So the city has been involved in civilian violence prevention efforts for some time now, really working to make sure that public safety and crime prevention is not only thought about in the context of policing, but it's thought about in the context of community. And we've only been able to do that because of the great partnerships we have, not only in the organization, but outside of the organization with several of you who are sitting here, but especially including the work that we've done with the Urban League. As this body of work has continued to grow, much of it has been housed in the Office of Oversight and Public Accountability, and there was just a need for staffing to really help support that. And I think we have the perfect staff person to do it. So I'm excited to really present, because most of you know her, but introduce to you Letitia Lipscomb, who now serves as our Violence Prevention and Intervention Manager. Letitia, you want to just stand and wave your hand? I think that does it. Excited to have her as part of the team. Letitia, again, will be partnering with community and people across the organization to really dive into our civilian violence prevention efforts. She'll also be partnering with the Urban League as we work through Cure Violence and continue to do that great work. And I'm excited to have dedicated staff in that space. She's already doing an amazing job. So she's excited to help us grow our existing programs and fill in some of those gaps as well. Of course, we've been working with Cure Violence, and we've talked a lot about Cure Violence, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. But the whole idea behind Cure Violence is we treat violence as a health epidemic, and we don't just think about what happens after the fact, but we think about the causes, the root causes of violence, and we try to address those root causes by connecting with individuals who are closest to the violence, people who are credible messengers, so that we can have them in place to help us move forward. We also, this summer, had our summer youth violence prevention programs. The ones housed in the Office of Oversight and Public Accountability included Night Quest, which was in partnership with Life Quest Church, and then City Vibes, which was in partnership with the Urban League, GRPS, and GVSU. And then we also had esports programming, which was a new endeavor, but we were excited to work through that as well. And of course, we can create space. Mr. Brown is a citizen member, but was completely and very involved in that City Vibe space. So we'll make some space, and maybe he'll share something about that program as well. In addition to these programs, of course, there's other youth things that we had in place, including Grow 1000, which is done through Our Community's Children, which is a partnership where we have summer youth employment and have been able to employ lots of youth and help them have positive things to do throughout the summer. So when we look ahead, OPA is ramping up our engagement efforts with our community-informed training program, recognizing that although we have connected with a lot of people, there are a lot of people to still connect with, and we're excited to do that. GRPD is hosting a training session on its use of force policy, which will allow members of the OPA team, and many of us have done it already, but also members of City Commission to participate and attend. The GRPD is also working with the Law Department and with the Office of Oversight and Public Accountability to confirm whether GRPD has the right legal and policy priorities here in the city. And the city is working to launch a new and improved community officer program. So with that, we have space for the discussion, questions, or maybe we start with feedback from Mr. Brown regarding that summer program.
Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
It's for me? All right, there we go. Yeah, we were excited to be in our second year of the City Vibes program. Again, you guys may have heard it came about, City Vibes came about after last year when we had three shootings that happened early in May. And they were all involving our young people. City Manager Washington called a group of us together, Urban League being one of those, to see what can we do. And this was May of last year. So we scrambled and we were able to put together some things with GVSU, Grand Rapids Public Schools, in our setting, as well as Life Quest, as Mr. Davis had mentioned. What we found was that in our second year, having a little bit more time to plan, we were able to come with a much more robust program. The numbers, if I tried to say the number of kids, I know there were, in the 8 weeks that it ran, Brandon, there were probably 600-700 people that came through. Again, not unique. The numbers would probably go down probably about in half if we looked at the unique attendees in that program. We may connect connections to be able to go throughout the year with these young people, but as the summer went on, the program grew. We're actually looking and talking with folks in the city. I can go there? Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay.
I don't know what you're going to say.
Okay, all right. We're looking at doing some pilot programming continuing out through the school year because it has had a success. We were able to, GVSU, you might wonder what GVSU was doing there. They were doing academic support. So at every session, Friday and Saturday, we had somebody from GVSU that were giving the young people academic support, which is something in tutoring. We brought in April Ruiz to do tutoring, and I actually saw some of the students there and at the Urban League doing taking advantage of the tutoring services. So that's a little bit snippet about what's going on with City Vibes. The thing is that young people, and I do hear this a lot, young people need something else to do. You know, they need something to divert themselves away from nefarious activities, and doing this on Fridays and Saturdays has shown, as is happening in 2 and 3 places across the city, it's shown that it has had some results on that. Again, the connections that are then made, and then that they can be, them and their parents can be referred to wraparound services to continue that attack at the root causes, and then what would be in our model, changing the community norms around violence.
So I guess I have a little input. Brandon, if you could, Mr. Davis, if you could back up a slide. So for this body, one thing your second bullet point there, I know maybe it's your third bullet point, confirming GRPD has the right legal and policy priorities in the city. So a lot of our discussion here tends to be focused on policing and like essentially first responder reactions to the things that we decide need intervention from first responders, and it's, you know, it's really important, and it's great that over the last 10 or 20 years we've also started broadening the scope of those conversations to talk about other things that can contribute to crime. I think it's worth pointing out that there are things that contribute to crime that we're probably, I don't think we're going to eliminate crime in the community by having infinite after-school programs. I think they're good, and it's absolutely something we can use as a tool to reduce the issue of crime in the community. But I think that, you know, there are going to be, I don't think we're ever going to be living in a society where crime has gone away. And so in that context, the question of what we do after something happens that we call a crime, or when a conflict does arise, it's obviously important to have GRPD at the table for those conversations and OPA, but it's also true that this body meets for a reason. And so we did just talk about extending the amount of time that we have to talk, and I hope that all of you around this table will start now thinking of topics that we can bring up and bring to the agenda, because I hope that this body can be the first step towards a democratic crafting of that vision for what happens in the city. Because at the end of the day, we're not, I don't think in a democracy we hire people to tell us what our vision for policing or justice is. It has to be a community voice, and that's why we elect people. That's why, you know, Commissioner Kilgore got elected. That's why I got elected. That's why the rest of the city commission got elected. And also then part of that conversation ought appropriately, I think, to be our legal department, because the question of what our priorities are, what we choose to charge, what we don't choose to charge, are questions that prosecutors typically are involved in, and I don't want to lose sight of the fact that there are going to be real insights from the people who do disposition of criminal charges in the city. We have people who work full-time for the city doing that in our court system. So hearing from them, also hearing potentially from probation officers and lots of practitioners about things that can be done better, ways we can do our work better, whether we've got, so I think you've named exactly the right goal, Mr. Davis. I think we always have to be asking ourselves, what are our priorities? What are our laws? What laws do we want to enforce? Are they just? Are they getting us the society we want? But the conversation has to, I think, be broader, both in terms of the experts who are at the table, because it's not just GRPD and it's not just the OPA, but also that it's really community grounded, and this body is here for that reason. So I want to challenge all of my fellow committee members to start thinking about things we can talk about and do. And so, for example, Cure Violence is an anticipation and a hotspot analysis, and it's based on an analogy, and that analogy is useful, but it's not sufficient. So one of the things that I think that at the higher level we have to think about is, if a conflict emerges, how do you deal with it? And our old model for doing that, our traditional model, is the model we've had in Western civilization for a long time, which is who's guilty and how do we punish them. There are other frameworks out there. Restorative justice, for example, asks who's hurt and how do we heal the hurt. And that's a very different agenda. And I think that moving into that space is something that will involve our city attorneys. It'll involve how we interact with the court system. It'll involve those questions of what we charge, what we don't charge, how we frame those decisions. So I just want to point out that there's greater complexity here. And whenever I'm talking about this, I say, I don't think we're ever going to be done talking about these issues. We're not going to get it fixed. We're not going to get it finished, because the problem of public order is something that you have when you bring human beings together. And so as long as we have cities, we're going to be having these conversations. So we don't have to be in a rush, and we don't have to act like this is a math test and there's an answer at the end. But I do think that I would challenge this group to really be visioning for a more just future for our city, not just tomorrow, not just next month, not just next year, but generationally, how we treat each other. There's nothing more important than how we treat each other as human beings in the city. So thank you for the presentation, but I just wanted to point out broader, more complexity. If anyone else have any?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Davis, for the input and all the everything that was shared. Curious to know, I know you mentioned the 800 that participated approximately within the confines of the City Vibes program. Can you tell us a little bit more about how many were engaged within the Night Quest, and then also the esports program? Also, was there any type of evaluation that was done to examine the course of the knowledge and attitudes and behaviors and impact of the programs on these particular individuals as well?
Great question. One of the new responsibilities for Ms. Lipscomb is to do that exact evaluation. So if we make the determination of where we invest and what type of program we have next year, we have data. So that will be done over the next several months in partnership with the individuals who are leading those programs.
So nothing was done during this past year, in the second year of this?
No, so at the point of the second year, what happens is the program ran throughout the summer. We're just completing that summer. The next step is the evaluation portion, where we meet with those organizations to say, hey, let's talk about how it went. Let's talk about the students that came and the impacts, and compare that to trends in violence that we saw over the summer.
Okay. So when we look at CIT then, let's go to CIT.
Sure.
With the community-informed training program, can you tell us a little bit more about what initiatives have been taken to make sure that the community is aware of the training so they can participate in that and what's the frequency of the trainings outside of the ones that you have listed as it pertains to GRPD and OPA?
Sure. So the community-informed trainings are trainings that are given to our police department and or fire department after consultation with community members who come forward and say, hey, this is what we want to do. So I believe the number is 16 is the number of trainings that were offered over the last year. And in the last presentation, I had the exact number of individuals. I don't want to guess. I can get you that number. I don't recall exactly what it was. But there were hundreds of people who have participated in the community-informed training program. I'm sorry, what was the last part of that question?
Just curious to know about the frequency of the trainings, and then also if you can tell me about this brand new certification program I think you have that's coming up as well.
I'm not following that last part of the
Okay.
of the question, but I will say the frequency of the trainings are offered based on when they come in.
Okay.
Right? So when a new topic comes in, we partner with GRPD or GRFD to get those trainings put into place. Again, it was 16 over the course of the last year, and we hope to have a similar number throughout this fiscal year.
I think I know something, perhaps if you recall when we did the emergency management community-informed volunteers, and we certified those members who went through that program as being able to assist and organize and respond. This is just once they did, this is just serving as, if you will, expert based on the lived experience, but there's no certifying for the citizens who go through.
That's correct.
Like
There's no
like a citizens academy or anything of that nature, but it's more to improve the delivery of the training right now that goes to the officers. But is there a citizen component that's envisioned where they would be not just co-participating, but maybe the primary participants of training?
So there are citizens who participate in the training both as attendees to learn and also to give the training, but there's not as the city manager indicated, there's no certification attached to it. And no, this training is not designed to be in the inverse order. So there's opportunities that exist for community members to receive trainings from the city or from public safety officials. This is designed to work the other way, where community members are there and able to elevate their voice as indicated in the city's strategic plan and provide training to public safety officials.
Okay. Mr. Coher, did you? Oh. Mr. Fine.
Yes, I'd just like to add my voice in commending the programming that is proactive ahead of behaviors that are frustrated and so forth. And I hear you're also open to other ideas that may come along. The one that I think I heard was mentoring, academic mentoring with kids that may bring that up as an issue. So anytime we get ahead of violence, I think we're doing a real great service for the community. Thank you.
Yep. Well, and when I used to talk about this in Lansing, I used to say the three best ways to reduce crime are education, employment, and time. And I don't have a time machine, so I only work on the first two. People do tend to age out of. Turns out some of us do get wiser as we get older, or we slow down, depending on how you want to look at it. But it's absolutely true that. The educational and this, city manager has really led on the education, on the employment front, on getting programs going that give people opportunities for employment. But education, mentoring is a huge part of education because you can put someone in a classroom, but if they start failing, we've all been in that situation where you lose your grip on a subject, right? So mentoring in life, I think, is gold. So. Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to
Go ahead.
just add, going back to your earlier comment, I think we all want to continue to find ways to make our community safe and have a holistic view of safety. And I think you hear that when we come and we talk about pedestrian safety, and whether it's with mobility or some of our summer or youth employment programming, as well as those direct public safety services from police and fire department. And, of course, the accountability efforts from to minimize the unintended harmful impact of law enforcement with oversight. I think, though, what we have been doing the past couple of months when the chief, and this meeting is different. We normally lead with the report from the police department, and you hear the number of murders, the number of homicides, the violent crimes that are taking place. And what this commission has done is to prioritize the reduction in violent crimes that are specifically problematic, problem-oriented policing. So when the chief says, okay, all the homicides from this past year are committed by people who are less than 18 and the height of the violence happens in the summer, the community then says, we need other alternatives for our young people and to make sure that we do more proactive things. That's been the response, mobilizing resources while still trying to do the long-term things. So regarding the other, I think we need to continue to reimagine justice in the Aspen Institute and that work that you've heard several times, but it's been 4 or 5 years in the making. But in the interim, we annually need to figure out practical ways to do our community, to make our community safe. So I think it's a balance of doing both. Having those conversations like you were talking about, also being very pragmatic of living up to things that we do to reduce harm in the community, and hearing both from the community as well as the experts we have in the organization. And I think, that's the conversation that should be taking place, not just here, but also in the community. And hopefully with more community involved officers, that neighborhoods can begin to localize some of the problematic areas and then have those conversations that should not have to wait once a month to happen at this dais.
So you can tell when the city manager and I are on the same wavelength because he anticipated my next question. I don't know if, Chief, you could come up, if you're prepared to at least maybe give us some level of teasing on something I know you've been excited about for a long time, and that is the relaunch of the community officer program. I know we're getting close enough, we can taste it, but if you've got super secret plans you can't tell us about yet, we understand. But broadly speaking, I was around when we used to have a good community officer based program before we had all the cuts, and this is back when we had roughly 400 officers. And I've been telling people in the community for years, you know, you run on a skeleton crew, you can't do the community, all the hard community work that I know you and Deputy Trigg and many in the force have been really looking forward to. So if you could give us a sneak preview, that'd be awesome.
I'll be as brief as possible. We just graduated on this past Thursday 8 individuals from the police academy, GVSU's police academy. They're married up with 6 other lateral officers. Those individuals, I hope you guys all attend the oath of office, will be October 16th. That's going to bring us to staffing levels that we're actually going to be, for the first time since I've been here, at appropriate staffing levels. Of course, that's not anticipating the growth in the city to come. But because of that, it gives us the opportunity to move forward to start staffing the first group of community officers. Deputy Chief Trigg himself was a community officer back a long time, not that long ago, but a little while ago, and has taken the lead on assembling this, and just over the past few days actually finalized, even with the input of our collective bargaining, our union, posting, so that we are truly moving forward with this and ready to get it going. And if you want to add anything, Deputy Chief Trigg, I'll turn it over to you.
No, I'll just say we believe in the program. We hated to lose the program, but, you know, when we were starving for staffing, we had to do what we had to do, basically. So, yeah, the plan is to start with 5 new community officers and grow it. I see growing it to maybe 15 or 20 based off staffing and what we can get approved to get enough bodies. But no, there's absolute value in it. I was one for almost 3 years. Connections that can be made with our community officers in the community because they have the time to invest in problems that can get out on foot and just walk around being proactive, be outside of the car. The car is a barrier, right? So, and then that will grow. That will grow with the teammates that they work with, of introducing them to the community and whatnot. So we're all for the program. I can't wait for it. I know the community's been asking for it. We're going to change a little bit to make sure it's still patrol-based as well, and we don't get lost into, you know, during my time, sometimes we would be doing these little TAC missions at times when we needed the staffing to assist. I don't want to do much of that type of stuff. If the community wants an officer in their neighborhood, we see the benefit, show the good work that we do, and kind of build from there.
Yeah.
That's
So,
the plan.
yeah, and I think, and I hope you'd agree with me. First of all, every good officer I know is instinctively a peacekeeper and a problem solver at heart, and the ability to do problem solving and deal with friction before friction turns into something where an officer has to be there is obviously a huge win. And having people out in the community means you can identify those friction points, but it also means the community knows you and you know the community. And that's something that I think we've heard from the community loud and clear. Like if there's policing going on in a neighborhood, they would really like the officers to know the people in the community. And so I think those are the 2 potential benefits we're really playing for. Is that fair?
And I would just say I felt I had the traits for a community officer before I was a community officer. So our men and women have great traits and characteristics. We help identify those and say, hey, this person would be best suited for this. So we have that in mind. But as I said too, when we're short-staffed, when we're running call to call, we're offering a fast food service, right? And that's not good. We want to wine and dine and be able to take our time on calls and with the people, and that's what the community officers are going to be able to do. They're going to be able to be vested in that problem in that neighborhood and let the patrolmen, men and women, go run the calls. So
Yeah.
that's the plan.
Yeah, awesome. Well, really excited to look forward to this, and thanks. And I appreciate you naming not just the first step, but the growth goal. We got a big city, right? So it just like I don't think 2 or 3 co-response social workers is enough, because there are more hours in the day and more days in the week than we have people to cover right now. Similarly, if you were to break our city out into bite-sized neighborhoods, I don't think anybody in this room would think we only have 2 neighborhoods, or 5 neighborhoods. We have a lot more than that. And so building those relationships on a block-by-block level is going to take a certain amount of staffing. It just is. So thanks. And thank you both. I'm really excited about this. Yeah, Commissioner. Ms.
Chief
James,
Wakeström.
Ms. James had a question.
Yes.
Or
Thank
maybe
you.
Deputy Streak, too.
And Deputy Strick too. Thank you all for your work and your updates, and thank you, Mr. Davis. I wanted to take it back to something that Pastor Golston mentioned. Since you guys are starting with 5, and I know you guys have the north side, south, east, and the west, and you have the center. While you have 5, can we have a commitment that you guys will partner with the leaders that are in the community now, and they can go to this training that's in the second bullet point, because that would then be their team? If we are having civilians go through this training sessions, can we have the leaders in those communities, or there's those neighborhood leaders that you guys will need to partner with? Can we make it intentional and start that from the beginning as the program is starting?
As far as this training here, I think this is specific to the next one scheduled for September 17th, maybe? Yeah. So through the process of identifying the officers, they probably won't be able to attend on that date. But this isn't a one-time thing. We've done it in the past. There have been calls for it. We heard those calls. I think we forwarded an invitation to everyone here today. Hope that if you have the availability, you can be there on the 17th. And certainly it is not limited to just you committee members. Listed also, we have a few judges coming, a few members of our law department, and the rest of the commission is invited. But identifying those additional community leaders and bringing them in as well will 100% happen, if not September 17th, and we can schedule it at a convenient time, a month or two after that. We can keep doing it.
Okay.
And make sure that those community officers are there too. Any opportunity that we have to build those relationships, I mean, it's really making sure that we get those opportunities. As I often say, I'm going to say yes if I get invited to a community event. It's just I'm going to say no if I already committed to another community event, and I know our officers feel the same way. So we want to take those opportunities, and if we can build them ourselves, this is going to be one to do, and I think it'd be a great experience.
Great, and I understand that. I've seen you at community events when it's well past my bedtime. But I'm asking specifically, how can we ensure that these 5 community officers that are coming in are partnered with the community leaders that are already there? How can that be a part of the process and the program so they're working intentionally together?
Yeah, well, I mean, we got to create those opportunities. Some of those opportunities already exist with the neighborhood associations. We have established leaders in the group, self-identified leaders, anybody certainly on this body, and then connecting with them, with the electeds that are in those areas too, to say maybe, a certain commissioner is going to refer to the community officer and say, here's somebody that you need to meet. Those officers are going to meet him. So we are going to look to the other leaders, including this group, to say who are the key players that we need to connect with. I mean, we want to connect with everybody in the communities, but there are people that are out there out and about more often, and if it's beneficial for the officers to meet them, we want them to meet them.
I would just add, like say, as a former community officer, that's the job. That's to figure out who the contacts are, which are going to be passed down to from your captain and whoever, all your resources that you have, obviously, because you're attending neighborhood meetings, business associated meetings, you're contacting with the schools, whoever the leaders are, whether formal or informal. Those are all tools or resources that you want in your toolbox, per se, as a community officer. So, going to be welcome to meeting anyone, networking, and kind of building that for when we grow to a bigger unit, community engagement.
Mayor, what I would suggest, since we have not started this program in a while, perhaps the chief can come back at a later date with an overview of the community-informed policing strategy, both for future staffing and then the programming assignments, and that way we're speaking from plans versus just this conversation we're having, which was really the focus of community informed training.
Understood. I just felt like it was worth teasing, but yes, I don't want to. The working on and planning was part of the bullet point there, so I didn't expect it to be completed. But I did want to, if this is coming and I'm convinced it's going to be a good thing for the community. I hope the community is. I hope everyone in the city is watching this broadcast, and I hope you all can think about how to connect with your community officer. But we're all of us to some extent in the business of PR and getting the good news out, and I think this is good news. So I'm really excited to look forward to this. So thank you, guys. Mr. Brown.
Yeah, this is not for the police and the deputy, so you guys are good for now. I just want to say I do appreciate the chair and the city manager for hearing, yes, our call for more time and more attention to these matters. Yes, these things aren't going to be solved overnight, but the community has been crying for decades for them to be solved. So I'll just quote Dr. King in my best way I can. We just had to be conscious of the fierce urgency of now. We know, and I thank you, Mr. Davis, for the great presentation on the progress that has been made. I do want to acknowledge the progress that has been made, but I also want to say we still have a long way to go, because in spite of this progress, we've still had instances within the last couple of months that have been high profile, that have been instances where, in spite of all of this, we still have had failures in our policing. I'll just wrap that up by saying I think I'll suggest, and I will provide agenda items, recommendations for the future meetings, but I do appreciate the additional time and the prioritization of this for this commission. I'll just say that from our 12-point community plan, we've had some progress, but I would just recommend that we work with the Community Relations Commission as well as the concerned, I have my notes here, the concerned clergy of Grand Rapids to review current policies and practices as we're moving through this. And I do want to acknowledge several members from the concerned clergy of Grand Rapids that are in the audience today. They were here last time as well. This has become a another heightened again at time, so I appreciate all of this, but there are folks in the community that have been working for a long time, and there have been several recommendations that have been made over decades that I think we need to start there, or at least take a look and see where we are with those recommendations. And Mayor, I would just add housing stability to your 3. So we'll replace housing stability because that's something we do have a little bit of control over, right? Because there are so many factors, so many approaches, so much that has to be done. But I believe we're hopefully, I said hope last time, and I want to say that I'm hopeful that we're on the verge of kind of moving into the city where we need to be for public safety.
Amen. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Davis. So if we can move on now, our fire department, who often gets put last, got put forward in the agenda so they can give us a full update on this meeting on their technical response team particularly. Chief Brown.
Good afternoon, Public Safety Committee. Thank you for having us this afternoon. As many of you witnessed getting off the elevator, we were actually performing a technical rescue with Rescue 2 out of LaGrave and Truck 3 out of Bridge performing an elevator rescue. These are low-frequency, high-risk events, and as our city continues to grow and the complexity continues to grow, so must our training, staffing, and equipment with regards to tech rescue. Very excited today to turn it over to Deputy Chief Jack Johnson, our operations chief, who's really grown this into a, not world-class yet, but certainly the leader in the state for tech rescue. So we'll strap in and listen to what he has to say.
All right, thanks, Chief. I'm really excited to be here. No, in all seriousness, I am. And I had wanted to plan some of my tech rescue team to go off the roof and rappel down the building or bring in some super cool stuff, but because you can never tell how long the presentation before you is going to run anymore, it's just not possible to time those things. So we thought we'd throw the intern in the elevator and get him stuck in there to just show you one of the things that we do. So that, and again, that'll come up a little bit later in my presentation. as far as our elevator component and how that's actually somewhat new for us in our response realm. So just a quick overview of the team and special operations in the city of Grand Rapids as a whole. I have 3 specialty teams, and when I say they fall under the operations division. Prior to being promoted to the operations chief, I was the special operations chief as a battalion chief. So I had the job of growing all 3 of these teams from like 2018 until what they are now. And boy, they've really grown leaps and bounds with the support from the city management, both financially and when we talk about elevator rescue, we do that class right here in City Hall on the weekends. So they've been in these elevators a lot, doing those rescues. So technical rescue, water rescue, and hazmat are my 3 teams. Today, I'm just going to talk about tech rescue, and then at some upcoming public safeties, I'll get into the water rescue and the hazmat side of it. So each team has 36 members, 1 chief officer that's assigned to them as the reporting chief. Down at LaGrave, which is just off of Fulton, if you're not familiar, is our central station. There's 2 rescues that are housed there that operate full-time, 3 firefighters on each. We also, as you can see in the picture, that's our medium-duty rescue that carries a myriad of equipment that they need to utilize to carry out the immense jobs that they have forward. We also have a tractor-drawn heavy rescue that carries huge dimensional lumber that we use for shoring and those types of things, and then the rescue companies, which also have a lot of equipment as well. On that tech rescue team, we also have 15 of those 36 members that are cross-trained, either in the water rescue team or the hazmat team as well. So what do they do? Rope rescue. The training starts with rope rescue. Ropes are kind of the core of what technical rescue does. They're used when victims are trapped in elevated or difficult to reach places, high-rise structures, window washers. I did have a video as well of 15 or 16, when we had someone stuck outside of City Hall, outside one of these windows, and the lift had failed. It was going to be 16 hours before a lift technician could come in and fix it to get that person off the outside lift. Our team showed up, we rappelled down and lowered him down within about 45 minutes, so got him out of that situation. Tower rescue. So one of the things about Grand Rapids is we're not building any more land in the city, so there's only one place to go when we want to grow, and that's up. So we do crane rescue. We've had the crane operators have medical issues up in the crane where they cannot get back down. They climb up and they climb down, with the exception of the larger cranes actually have like a small man lift in them. But we go up and we actually bring them down as well. And again, using that core of rope rescue, we do that. We have collapse rescue. We haven't had a large building collapse in a while, but I would say about once a month, we have a vehicle that goes into a house, a vehicle that goes into a building downtown. Our structural technicians on that team work with city engineering and determine the stability of that. And if there's any question, we actually use city-owned equipment to shore those buildings up until we can get a construction company there to complete the process, whether that's tearing it down or building it back up. Trench rescue. Anyone been down Division lately? Yeah, no, you haven't, because it's been under construction for the last 7 years, right? They've done a lot of trenching down there, and anytime you're digging in the ground, that soil can come in and engulf a worker. Now there are things they need to do for OSHA. Sometimes they got to have a trench box. Sometimes different projects, and I'm not going to say that one, but different projects throughout the city that have subcontractors or private contractors. Our team have been driving by and we're like, yeah, no, that's not safe. You have to get a trench box. And, in addition to responding, we're out there, paying attention to those things because we're trained to keep, our citizens and those people working safe as well. Confined space rescue is really one of the first things that we started out with back in the early 2000s, and that's going into vaults, and if we had some silos, we'd go into those, but mainly any place that's not meant for someone to occupy for a longer period of time. They're also fraught with atmospheres that aren't breathable, so we have to be able to do air monitoring, go on our SCBAs or hard lines and go in there and pull those people out. Machine and industrial rescue is another area. We have a lot of businesses in Grand Rapids that utilize machines. We've had, I want to say, a handful over the last 5 years where people have been stuck in a press or some other process. And that one's kind of tricky because you have to know how that process works to reverse it, to get that person out without causing any more harm. And our folks are really good at that. And then advanced and heavy vehicle extrication. We have freeways. We have a lot of large trucks that go through them where your normal tools to cut a car apart won't work. So we have the tools where we can stabilize semis. If you've ever seen what they call an underride override, where a car is actually stuck under the semi, we can marry those together and get the people out safely, again, without causing any more problems. The tricky part on those is if they really have to become one unit, or else any movement either way can also not only hurt the person in the car, but also hurt our responders. And then elevator rescue, which we kind of saw today. Now, 2000, I want to say 8-ish, 9-ish, when we kind of had a little bit of economic downturn, that previous chief had stopped us from responding to non-emergency elevator calls. So this was a non-emergency elevator call. There was no medical in there. He was just stuck. And the decision back then was, well, they can just call the elevator company and they'll figure it out. Well, that's not really good, I think, from the city's perspective, because we have, parking ramps downtown that we own, and we get, in the wintertime, you can get stuck in there where you're not having a medical problem now, but by the time a tech gets there in 2 hours, you're probably going to be having one. So we decided, previous chief, John Lehman, that, we're going to get back into that business. We didn't do it willy-nilly. We went out and found the best training program in the country out of New York. We brought him here twice at a cost, but it's been well worth it. That just removing that fellow from the elevator today under the old way, we would have just went up and opened the door. We would probably have damaged the elevator, caused the city $20,000 to fix that elevator later. Now they have specific processes and procedures, so not only do we get them out in an expedient manner, but we also get them out in a safe manner as well. So while we don't walk up and just start jamming doors open, there's a process where we restart it, we re-energize it, we go through all those steps to make sure it's done without causing any further damage. And of course, our business owners in town are happy for that too, our building owners, that we're not in there wrecking their elevators, because they're not cheap. They also provide support in the Swift Water Rescue area. And I just want to talk about this for a minute, because last commission meeting, I got a call from the fire chief that there were portable bathrooms in the river. Okay. Generally speaking, we don't go get trash out of the river. That's not a response that the GRFD offers. We're in this for life safety. We're in this to keep our citizens safe and our visitors safe. I went there to take a look at it. The company that owned the construction project was in the process of going to get them out. They had a tow company there. And I saw those workers step in the river, and I said, yeah, no, you're out. This is unsafe for you, right? So there are times when we get some what we call operational creep. If we don't take care of it, someone's going to take care of it. They're not going to do it as safe as us. They're going to end up in trouble, and we don't want to have a fatality or have to make a high-risk rescue at that point. If we can just get in there, do it ourselves, and be done with it. The labor contract allows that. There are some areas in there where I want to say probably back in the 60s or 70s, the fire department wasn't about cleaning up the river, so they got some contractual language where it makes it kind of a gray area, but we will go in there to prevent other people from going in there. So think ice, Riverside Park, I've been on this one. The dog runs out to chase geese when the river's frozen, and the dog goes in the water, and we're not Grand Rapids Animal Rescue Division, but if I don't get Mayor LeGrand's dog, guess who's gonna? Mayor LeGrand. And then I've got to save him. So, it's easier for us to do it. We're trained professionals. We'll handle it. We also have 6 members on Michigan Task Force 1, and this is our national and statewide collaboration. That's a multi-agency response force based out of Holly, Michigan, and I think their last deployment was to the hurricane down in South Carolina a couple years ago. Those guys and gals get a higher level of training. In fact, it benefits us because when they come back, they end up turning into our team leaders, and they bring that knowledge, that institutional knowledge and what they've learned back to us. Nice thing about this is they pay for all the training. We pay them while they're gone, but FEMA ends up paying us back when FEMA feels like it. But we do get our money back from those. So, the Grand Rapids Fire Department has the only statewide validated team in Michigan that's what's called a single agency technical team. So a lot of big fire departments, a lot of big industry on the east side, they all have county teams or multi-agency teams. Our team in West Michigan in Grand Rapids is just the City of Grand Rapids firefighters. So it makes running the team a lot easier, quite honestly, because everybody is running under the same rules and the same contracts, and they all have the same boss to come back to if they screw up. So, and nobody wants that. So, some recent-ish incidents we've had an assistance to the water rescue team. So this picture here, this happened last winter. I won't go into details about how the person went over the bridge and ended up on the ice in the Grand River, but they did. Our tech rescue team rappelled off that bridge, got to her quickly before the ice broke, and then as you can see, our airboat, I like to call Gator 5, homage to Florida where we got it from, came in and then took them off the ice, and we saved a life that day. So it was a real proud day for me, and just watching those guys operate. I've actually got some really good drone footage that Walker got for me, and if anyone is ever interested in seeing that from start to finish, we can get that out to you. We shored a compromised structure. We've mobilized for the Kalamazoo Portage tornado touchdowns. They ended up not needing us, so we didn't go help. And then we also deployed to assist Portage on a trench rescue. They were on a trench rescue for about 5 hours before they finally called us, which is unfortunate for that fella in the trench. He ended up living, but that was a lot longer than he needed to be in the trench. Like, we encourage our neighbors around us to call early, call often, because when you're big brother, the big fish in the pond, it's kind of your job to help your neighbors as well, right? So I just wanted to throw this in there about our strategic plan alignment, the strategic plan for the city, and the strategic priority where we fall under is safe communities. And we fall under that priority by providing that specialized rescue services that protect lives and property during those collapses and those high-risk incidents. And we enhance overall community safety through our rigorous training readiness for those rare, but when they do happen, they can be catastrophic. And those are the incidents where the news is there, right? They're not there on our everyday medical and, sometimes not even on our structure fires. But if something that falls under this tech rescue team happens, the news will be there, and we want to look sharp. We want to make you guys look sharp as being the overall leaders of our team. So looking into the future, we're going to continue to offer that training, and we're going to be doing another rope rescue class to get some younger members of the department trained up. We've got another tower rescue class we're planning for this year, and we've teamed with City Forestry to do some rescue from trees. So we're going to get a little bit into the tree rescue business as well. Kind of goes hand in hand with the rope stuff. So and that is all I have for you. I'll entertain any questions.
Great, thank you. Pretty comprehensive. Anybody got any questions? Mr. Fegema.
I'll just state how my gratitude for your work even today with the elevator rescue. I think as someone who has lived in an apartment or apartments within city limits as long as I've lived within the city, it's great to have that peace of mind that we're very proactive and you're always thinking about the various situations in which someone could need a rescue. So I really commend you for your work and the way you're always thinking about the way that you can address safety issues wherever they might present themselves, especially in situations that become more and more common as more and more people move into large buildings with elevators. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Thank you guys for all your work. With the continued growth of Grand Rapids, is our tactical team and fire department stated to keep up with that growth?
So we do strategic planning, much like the city does, the fire department does as well. And we've got some pretty big ideas of how we're going to grow the fire department. And of course, we're going to have to collaborate with the city on that because that's going to include potentially more stations, more engines, more people. When we get a stadium downtown and we get the soccer arena and all those things that are going, it's going to increase our call volume. So yeah, we are definitely looking to the future and growing right alongside the city.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I support my two previous colleagues and appreciate the work you guys do, and this is just probably a simple question. Just wondering, the courses, the three that you just listed most recently and the future, that's only what you have coming up. We're going to make sure we have the competent and trained folks in all these other categories that you had on the third slide.
That's all ongoing. So in addition to their original training, which is 534 hours total, every 9 weeks, they all on shift have a whole day training where they refresh in every one of these specialties throughout the course of the year.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank
Thanks
you.
for the briefing. I think we're going to get an update now on public health and safety ordinances, and Ms. Behrens, are you presenting?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me just get this open. So we're here with just the routine update that we promised this body we would periodically come with after the work that was done in actually 2023 at this point to take a look at our efforts across the spectrum of support and enforcement, particularly around use of public spaces and responding to people in crisis. So this was a body of work that really the Public Safety Committee was charged with from the City Commission back in 2023. For the benefit of the public, since it's been a couple years at this point, and the new members of this commission, I just wanted to remind folks what came out of that effort. So there was some research and some partnering and some community engagement and outreach and multiple discussions with this body and ultimately action by the City Commission. But cutting through all of that, sort of articulating the City of Grand Rapids approach to helping people in crisis and when those crises spilled out over into public safety impacts is really kind of a three-pronged approach. So consistent with the conversations you've had today, there are a lot of proactive components to that, right? We are trying to get to root cause and problem solving. And so there are investments in housing, there are investments in services, and then there is clarity and consistent enforcement of sort of our expectations, both from a criminal activity standpoint and a use of public space standpoint. We have since then come back and reported to this body mostly around that last bullet point. So how are we making sure that we are continuing to educate people about what is expected and what is allowed, and then what is our enforcement experience and data telling us about that. So I'm going to continue with that and focus in on kind of that part of our three-pronged response, but really encourage folks to take a look at the city's website, which we're continuing to improve, to look at how we are continuing to invest in housing. A lot of great work being done there, including most recently the Community Development Neighborhood Investment Plan that was confirmed by the City Commission earlier this spring, and a number of other tools that we're using to ensure that we have as big a pipeline generating housing units at all affordability levels as we can. We'll talk a little bit about services here as well, primarily the homeless outreach team that is led by our fire department and community development partnership as well with Network 180. So we'll talk about their approach a little bit, and then again, those ordinances. So before I move into the data, just a final reminder there, back in 2023, there were sort of three actions that the City Commission ultimately took. One was to clarify the definition of loitering and make it very clear that loitering was not allowed in a doorway in a manner that interfered with the doors operation. There was a definition of something called accosting behavior, and then a prohibition of that sort of behavior in proximity to places where people were engaging in a financial transaction or needing to wait, like waiting for a bus, somewhere where you're a little bit of a captive audience and you should have the ability to say thank you, but no thank you for whatever you're approaching me for. And so that change was made. And then finally, there was an ordinance adopted about personal property accumulating in public spaces. So we'll turn now to the data enforcement. So we usually like to start with just sort of what are we hearing from the public around things related to homelessness. Last time I was in front of this commission in April, there was a request to try to show more data from over time. So this is actually a robust body of data that has been kept by our 311 group. And you can see that data actually goes all the way back to 2020. So we will continue to update this and share this snapshot. I think it's safe to say you can see on this slide and you will see on the future slides, it's very hard to identify a trend. In terms of our interaction, we are seeing consistent levels of outreach, somewhat consistent levels of people in need. So in light of that, I think it's important to remember different individuals are being helped every day, somewhat like your conversation about violence and violence intervention. Different people are accessing the system and supported by the system and moved into more stability and getting services they provide. And unfortunately, then different people fall into crisis. And so as we continue to work on those root cause issues, I think you'll see the data sort of bearing out that we still have work to do there. So just to then highlight what has happened in the last quarter since I reported to you. So for the April to June timeframe of 2025, through 311, they received 53 calls that had something to do with crisis or homelessness or needing support. Of those, 11 were to report encampments, unlawful encampments on public or private property, and 6 were individuals seeking resources for themselves. And remember, there's also 211, so that is by no means the total number of people reaching out to the system looking for assistance, but just that is a data point that we share with you frequently. Now to some of our HOT and code compliance and code enforcement activities. We typically, we do not allow encampments on public property when our staff sees an encampment. So an encampment is sort of somebody living or carrying out the major functions of their life on public property in a place that's not fit for human habitation. We do ask the staff or public to report those to us, and we have a protocol that is different than our personal property protocol, a protocol to post that site, let folks know this is not a place you are able to live, sleep, work, cook, those kinds of things, and then connect in, send outreach workers to try and connect folks into alternative locations for that, safer places that are intended for that activity, and then a period of time, I want to tell you it's 7 days, I'm looking back, phoning a friend back in the back there, 7 days before we would come and do the cleanup of that encampment. So this is the information we've gathered over the last 2 years. So you can see, again, not really a trend there. It's kind of up and down each quarter across the years, not a lot you can see there in terms of trend, but we are responding and continuing to educate folks about that. Just want to point out the numbers for April to June of 2025, which is the last orange bar on that encampment cleanups graph. We did have 35 encampments that we responded to. And we traditionally report out to this body the percentage of those that appear to be abandoned after that 7-day period. So that was 57% this time around. You know, we like to think that is because we were able to connect folks to resources and educate folks about what was and wasn't allowed, but we track that data point. The second bar chart there is around the homeless outreach team. So when we were here in April, we talked a little bit about the homeless outreach kind of team refresh with Chief Brown's support and also Connie Bahatch in community development. We sort of work together, and the fire department is graciously hosting this city service for all of us. And so they have done some work since the last budget adoption and with our partners at Network 180 to reinforce and refresh the mission and vision of that particular team. So the data that you see on the second bar chart really is from their tracking purposes. So they are, you know, the one team that's out there in the city covering citywide, connecting with folks who are living or carrying on major life functions in our public spaces. And they serve multiple purposes, but one is to educate that this is a compassionate community and there are resources available for you. Let us connect you up to those resources. But they also educate about what is and isn't allowed in those public spaces as well. So it can be a tough message, and we appreciate their efforts to educate the community about what is allowed. You can see there they also educate the business community. So the HOT team is one of the resources that we have when we are contacted by businesses or neighborhood associations about wanting help to find folks better resources for them to carry on again safe and stable life functions. And the HOT team will go out and talk to businesses about how to, what resources are available, what is allowed. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, thank you. This is great. Is that a full year data for the HOT team interactions?
Yes, it is. Okay. So the blue bar is fiscal year 24 and the orange bar is fiscal year 25. And so then again, as you see that data, and I'll just jump ahead to that, you'll see that the orange bars are much, much smaller, right? Total interactions about half. We, again, don't really think that that is because of a significant reduction in the number of folks that need these services. But again, in the last several quarters, we have been through a cycle with HOT, with Network on 180, changing staff, onboarding staff. We've been without some of the co-response Network 180 staff for a couple months. So we expect that is why there have been fewer contacts, just changes in the staffing in the field. So expect those numbers to be back about where they've been year over year as that team gets fully functioning.
Although, and you and I have been on groups talking about this, I see there's some very hopeful numbers there, like the coordinated entry assessments is really up.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yes, good point. Yep. That was a process improvement that we'll continue to work with the regional homelessness response team as well. So we'll continue to round out these data sets and make sure that we're showing you multiple years worth over time so we can continue to learn what we can learn from the data. Just want to refresh everybody's mind then the last piece with respect to enforcement and that we traditionally report out on is our approach to personal property in public spaces. So the City Commission has adopted some much more clear rules than existed prior to 2023, and we have continued on the ethic of this being really an education campaign, an opportunity for people to understand what is allowed, what alternatives exist if you don't have a safe place to store personal property with community partners, which is something we have traditionally invested in as well to make alternative storage available for folks. And then we have, you don't need to know the whole flow chart here, but this is likewise a cross-departmental effort. So we have developed some materials with all of our property owner and maintainer departments to understand how to evaluate a situation where you might have some abandoned property and what we need to do to comply with requirements about seizure of property. So the government can't just come in and start grabbing your property. There is law around notice and opportunity to redeem that property and get it back, which we've developed a lot of materials to ensure that our staff feel supported in carrying out that function. And then finally, we have proactive approaches to some of that cleanliness in public spaces issue. And so just here on the screen, kind of consistently the areas that our public services staff is driving through and ensuring that folks are complying, using HOT for education if needed, and then doing the cleanup that's necessary. And we are also continuing to report out on any impoundment. So when we do find personal property in excess and we've done the appropriate notice that is required, have we impounded property? You see that we've done that. We have impounded property 5 times in calendar year 2025 and have not had anyone reclaim that property to date. So again, we invite members of the community, members who serve this portion of our population to communicate with us if the redemption process is difficult or people don't know. We're continually trying to find ways that we're improving folks' ability to tap back into and get their property back should they so choose. So if people are hearing areas where we need to improve our information, we are always open to hear that. finally, I just want to call your attention to the fact that in your packet today was a report from Community Rebuilders, with whom the city contracted a couple years ago now to provide services, rapid rehousing services and outreach. Geographically targeted homeless outreach project is referred to, and Community Rebuilders has been here in the past to report out to this body. They did provide us a report, so wanted to call your attention to that. And just note that in this past quarter, so that's again April to June of 2025, they were able to help 12 individuals, bringing their overall total for the 8 quarters of this contract to 95 individuals helped in that geographically targeted effort, which was a partnership. The city invested $500,000 in that contract. DGRI came up with $100,000 to support that effort as well. And really, again, 95 individuals helped who are no longer needing to live on the streets. And also, as you walk around downtown, you will still see people that need help. So again, want to point out, individuals are helped every day, and individuals need help every day. And so it is work that we will continue to do for the community.
Thanks. Commissioners, any questions? I only have one, Ms. Behrens, and that is, where do you see, so obviously this is a learning process. You've got it looks to me like, I actually, I'm fairly deeply involved in this, and I think it's a very well thought out and very engaged and engaging and questioning process. But if you were looking to the future for things that you think, places we can have growth or progress in this whole area, anything come to mind for you?
Well, there's certainly more experts in the back of the room here, and but I will just maybe lay the groundwork for a future update. So, and neglected to say what a regional effort response to people in crisis really is. There is a lot of work happening at the Continuum of Care, which is the Kent County regional body that is responsible for coordinating planning and federal funding around homelessness and homelessness response. They've had a pilot program called 100 in 100 that was set up to particularly get people experiencing chronic homelessness into units and stably housed. And they set that up particularly to pilot some ideas about how to get better and more consistent and quicker rehousing for people that are in that situation. So we are kind of gleaning the information that they learned during that initiative and figuring out both how to scale that and how to translate some of those techniques to different populations, children and family most particularly. So I've been in touch with the executive director and anticipate that she'll come and update this body in one of your future meetings around that. Also want to point out the work of Housing Kent. So they're really focused on that unit production spectrum and what are the right interventions, both people who are unhoused, people who are not stably housed, and then getting stably housed. They issued their state of housing report probably about 6 months ago at this point, with 7 priority projects for the region. The city has contracted with Housing Kent to help us participate in some of those initiatives, some of those priority projects, and again, expect to be reporting to the commission or this body as appropriate on where that work is. A lot of work happening in the region now to plan or to prepare for changes at the federal level as well, so more to come on that.
Thank you.
Wanted to take opportunity to thank Ms. Behrens for the report. Then also, it's good to see the flow chart come back once again, and then see the effectiveness of the 2 to 72 hour pre-removal notification. That gives everybody an opportunity, because I know we had issues with that, with the business sector especially, in that capacity. But thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, Mr. Fakema.
So I have a note and a question about the excess property removal process. So one thing I will say, so I've lived right in the heart of downtown since 2023. I will tell you that since this ordinance was passed, I've found that people seem to be getting the resources that they need. I've just seen less random stuff strewn about on the sidewalks. Like before this ordinance was passed, I can recall feeling like, these people, they should know they have a place where they can go. And I feel like, this kind of practice of leaving stuff out, like it can create conflicts with other people that they may know. But I am curious about the top of that flow chart there, and this might have been covered before. Near the top, it says, for excess property standard of practice, is there at least some property that is on the always impound list? Could you speak to the contents of that list? Because to me it seems, if something's not on a list, it could be thrown away and it could be valuable to that person. So how are we making sure that important property that someone just might have left out for whatever reason is not being thrown away to their great dismay?
Right, and that is difficult, and that is one of the things that we know is difficult for our staff to implement as well. So as we were putting this flow chart together and the other training materials, we, with the help of the city attorney's office as well, canvassed other cities that have similar issues and similar programs, and City of Portland had done a lot of work in this space. So the always impound, meaning don't throw it away, list is generally speaking backpacks. We don't ask our staff to go through the backpacks, but anything that's, something that we would all expect to find important property in suitcases, those kinds of things are always impounded. Bicycles, if they're not inoperable, those sorts of things are on the always keep it and give the person a chance to get that property back. The always dispose is anything that appears to be, soiled and would be a hazard to the health of the staff person or the health of the staff or the integrity of the other property we have impounded, so it couldn't be safely stored with the rest of our impounded stuff. So that tends to be things soiled, anything that would have needles, those kinds of things would be on the always throw away list. And then there's sort of that judgment in the middle. And again, we at the beginning of implementation of this ordinance did hear from a lot of community partners about concern, like, hey, we heard this thing happened and these materials were thrown away. And so again, when we hear of concerns about how we implemented an ordinance in any particular circumstance, we invite people to let us know about that. We try to evaluate what happened with the staff, and if we need to tighten up our processes, we'll do that. If we need to better communicate to the community, don't expect us to be able to retain that property. We try to push that word out as well. Again, it's more about education and trying to get on the same page, understanding that it is a very emotional thing for people to have their property, and it is difficult on our staff too to have that kind of conflict and that sort of responsibility. So we try to make it as clear as possible.
Thanks. So we've got 13 minutes left in our hour and a half, and so unless there are any other pressing questions.
I do have one thing that's just briefly, Mayor, and I appreciate the second here. Thank you, Deputy City Manager Behrens. I just wanted to reiterate while we're here in a public space that the 211 calls, as were indicated by the presentation, are not indicative of the homeless issue in Grand Rapids. We know that family homelessness, I work for a family homelessness provider, went up 39% nationally in 2024. It has been more significant here in Grand Rapids. We are anticipating significant increases in homelessness due to the SNAP and Medicaid cuts that we're seeing, and I'm hopeful that the city is thinking proactively. If the ESP funds that we're anticipating coming down to us, we should see single and family homelessness rising. And just a quick note, one of the interactions that we're tracking is through Catherine's Health Center, a wonderful community partner. They, like many others, are at risk of closing. And I'm saying that not to scare any of their investors or shareholders, volunteers, or staff, but we're talking about significant cuts to significant organizations that do this work. And I'm not sure that Grand Rapids is currently poised to handle the increase that we're about to see. Just for reference, today every single family shelter room is full and has been for 5 years since I've been working there. And in August of 2025, just this month, we increased to more families waiting for shelter than in shelter. We don't talk about family homelessness a lot because this was chamber-driven and business-driven, in my opinion. But if this is a human issue that we're focused on, there's a lot larger conversation we should be having.
Thanks.
Mayor, just real quickly, so I want to thank you for raising that. Ms. Behrens alluded earlier, our work with Housing Kent is anticipatory of some of the federalized impact around the unhoused community. And so that much larger conversation is happening. It just hasn't happened publicly here. And so, as she said, once we are able to get to a point where we are ready to have the conversation, we'll decide whether it's at this body or the committee of the whole.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Chief, your time at the microphone, second time. So update on crime statistics.
All right, continue good news on the auto theft front. Mostly you see it continue to trend this way, and I hope that continues in 2026 as well. We did have a little spike in July. There were a small group of young people. We arrested one just very recently in a stolen car. Was not his first. He also had an extended magazine in the handgun he was riding with, so making some bad choices, but very thankful for the organizations in this city who are working with those youths to make better choices. And as we all work together to see that, I think we're going to see this chart continue to trend down next year as well. Robbery totals also trending down, and ag assaults higher than we would like them, but no statistical significance or patterns to note in these numbers. Person shot. Unfortunately, this chart looked a lot better until this weekend, where we had 3 young women actually shot in just about an hour and 15 minutes of each other late at night. Fortunately, all 3 of them suffered non-life-threatening wounds, and they will make full recoveries. This is just a photographic snapshot of the locations of the shooting victims in the city. As you can see, generally follows sort of population density. We have lost 7, including August 10th was our most recent murder. Randy Campbell was found shot to death, and that investigation very much active. I have personally met with the family members of Randy a couple times, as well as some other concerned citizens. The detectives are making excellent progress on that, and that is actually the one of the 7 murders that we've seen this year which is not closed by arrest and prosecution. I hope to have better news on that in the coming weeks. As you can see, detectives working extremely diligently to keep those numbers up. We want to get as many answers as we can for the loved ones of these individuals who have been killed. Overdoses are actually a little bit down this year. I think last year we were trending 1 every 2 weeks, so that's a positive. And a little over a gun, a little over 1 illegally possessed gun every day is recovered from the streets of Grand Rapids. See, Mr. Davis, I can see I have to be careful how I say that. Yep. So, but those are all success stories when those illegally possessed guns are safely removed. And I'm not here talking about an officer-involved shooting or any other tragic things. I will say we talked a little bit about the community officers. We are our recruiting side of things has been fantastic. Again, I think the October 16th is our oath of office swearing-in ceremony. I'll forward the invitation to this body. It's going to be a good one. It's a big group, very motivated young men and women. I wish, Patrick, I wish you weren't sitting in for Anita, because I heard she is now possibly looking for a job. We are hiring. So if you could pass that on to her, it's never too late to start a second career. But otherwise, I'll take any questions with the few minutes I have left.
Chief, what is being done to address the meetups? Are you all working anything extensively within the confines of the other police departments and across the cities?
Yeah, we have.
That's signage also, signage of license plate readers that are within the confines of some of the parking lots. I've noticed that, especially around Woodland Mall, et cetera.
Yep, we've got some great partners, especially those private organizations which realized that they were sort of the meetup place. This latest location, which is the 1000 block of 36th Street, has changed hands recently. I think it was a parking lot formerly owned by Steelcase. Now it changed owners. So short answer to your question, number one, work with the owners of these private venues. Unfortunately, generally speaking, what we do is we push them to different parts of the city if we're able to take enforcement or make one location less desirable. We've seen a lot of progress in the city doing that. Unfortunately, that impacts our our suburbs more than, who are less equipped with the manpower that we have to address them. But this last weekend, where we had 2 young 18-year-old girls who were shot, obviously we dedicate a lot of resources to finding those shooters. In doing that investigation, we've collected a lot of video. We do have that information that shows up on the license plate reader, so as we're able to determine who is there, anything that we can do as far as enforcement around that, especially the individuals who pulled the trigger or triggers, but also any other opportunities that we have to take enforcement to send that message. In this last incident, actually, a vehicle probably by accident caught fire. I'm sure that vehicle's owner, and it was a total, the fire department came, put it out before anybody was injured, but that was a total loss. These are extremely dangerous incidents. We had a big press conference, myself and the suburban chiefs and the sheriff, because this is a regional problem. It is a big problem, but we've actually seen success. We've had far fewer this year than the summer before, and far fewer than the summer before that. So we're seeing progress. Unfortunately, this weekend we saw a bad one where 2 young women were shot. So logistically speaking, this one we probably would have been able to make arrests on scene, except for the fact that as chance would have it, there was a shooting on the 1900 block of Division Avenue about an hour before this one. So all of our, not all, but most of our resources were dedicated to investigating that shooting and crowd control, et cetera, when this shooting took place. So even with about 30 officers, I believe, that we had on the road that night, 1 or 2 big incidents can drain resources. So unfortunately, the fire department beat us to that scene, was on scene for the shooting, and the officers weren't even there yet. So as I talk about the successes that we've had in recruiting and retention, as we're able to get up to a little bit higher staffing, I think that'll make a difference. But it's labor intensive to investigate those incidents. The organizers are where we have seen progress. Identifying early those organizers. I mean, I personally have been to an organizer's house, handed them a cease and desist letter from the city attorneys who are working with us on this project, and so that we've seen that success. In this case, this organizer actually charged a fee. So that's going to make it easier to identify that individual and follow through with, if not criminal, then civil processes. But a lot of time when you have conversations with these people, they'll say, well, I'm just organizing it. I'm not the one committing the illegal acts. And that only goes so far as believability and accountability. So we made progress. It just sucks that we're here talking about 2 young women who were shot. So everything we can is the short answer. We're doing everything we can.
So that goes up to 30 shootings and then 7 deaths, correct? Fatalities.
Yes, sir. And of those 7 deaths, I believe 5 of those are gunshot related. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no further questions?
I just wanted to say thank you for the work that you guys are doing for Randy Campbell. He's a GRPS graduate and class of 05. So thank you.
We're doing everything we can. Yeah, I met with Randy's twin sisters last week. Obviously, they're devastated and they're very eager for answers. And of course, we can't bring true healing or closure, but at least we owe these families answers, and we're doing everything we can to get those answers as soon as possible.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Mayor, I see Ms. Hitchcock is here, and this is her last public safety meeting before this body. Is that
It is.
not correct?
All right.
So we just want to thank you so much for your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that adjourns our meeting.